Before the end of this module, we want our restaurant list page to display a list of restaurants. But before we get there, I want to take a moment to explore the relationship between this Razor page and the Razor page's page model. Because typically it is the page model that will perform data access and do all the hard work to put together the data that the Razor page will display. Here's a very simple example. Let's give this class a public property. I'll make it of type string and I'll call it message. And then inside of the onGet method, which is what responds to an HTTP GET request, I'm going to simulate some data access by saying message equals, and let's just provide the message hello world. So this is a simple hello world example. I'm going to save the page model class and come over to the page itself. And now any information that that page model exposes, I have access to through an @model property. So @model with an uppercase M. The @ sign, by the way, allows me to transition from writing HTML to writing a C# expression or a C# code block. Again, we'll talk about that more later in the course. But when I say @model, the object I'm looking at is an object defined by that class in the list.cshtml.cs file. So I should be able to find message here in the IntelliSense. And if I save my Razor page at this point and do a refresh, I should be able to see the message on the screen that was put together by my page model, which is hello world. Let's take this one step further. One easy data source that I can access right now is my application configuration. One of these sources of configuration for this application is appsettings.json. As we move through the course, we'll find other configuration sources that we can use. But anything I place into this file is something I can access at runtime. So for example, if I add a message property to this JSON file, and I say that message is equal to hello from app settings, let's say I want to display this message in my Razor page. Well, the whole idea in the relationship between a Razor page and its page model is that the Razor page is strictly about display. All I want to do inside of the CSHTML here is write simple C# expressions to place stuff into my markup. Therefore, it's going to be the page model's responsibility to fetch this message from somewhere. So something I can do in ASP.NET Core is give my page model a constructor, and my constructor can take a parameter of type iConfiguration. In order for this to work, I do need to bring in the namespace Microsoft.extensions.configuration. I can do that in Visual Studio by pressing Control-, and Visual Studio will detect that, and I just press Enter to add that using statement automatically. So let's call this config. And now I can also press Control-, in Visual Studio to say, please save iConfiguration off into a private field. So again, I do that by pressing Control-, and selecting an option from the menu. So I now have access to configuration throughout the rest of the page model. And here inside of onGet, instead of saying message equals hello world, I can access the application configuration. And I can ask for values from appsettings.json by going to the configuration and indexing in like I would into a dictionary. So I can say, please give me a value for message. And now if I save everything and refresh, we should be seeing the value that is stored inside of appsettings.json, which we do. And we can see a very basic pattern that's going to repeat itself throughout the course. I'm going to use the page model to inject services that will give me access to the data that I need, and then use those services like the configuration service to fetch data and add that to properties that I will then bind to inside of my Razor page. Next, I want to take that pattern and apply it to restaurants, but we're going to have to build out some abstractions for our restaurants first.